What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Jackwoods. This is the Kaged Review, and this is a review for Shazam. This is going to be my non-spoiler review, so there's a lot of things that I'm actually not going to touch on, and there are some things to spoil here, which is nice. So look forward to my spoiler review. But for the movie, first impressions, just coming out of the theater, it was such a good time. This is DC definitely headed in a different direction, and it has worked very well for the last two movies. James Wan taking on Aquaman, I always said if anybody could take Aquaman and make it something great, James Wan could do it. Well, somebody tied to James Wan is David Sandberg, and he's the director of this movie, and I think he did an absolutely fantastic job. There are going to be obvious comparisons with this movie to other movies. Some have already been made to Captain Marvel, because Shazam for so long was called Captain Marvel, and it sucks that he had to lose the name. But in my opinion, if you have to compare the two movies, this was definitely the better of the two movies. I really think that it was a superior film on so many levels. And the two major levels is the humor throughout this movie is amazingly funny. Everything hit. And that is something for DC films that is not really a usual occurrence. They try to be funny in some of their previous DC movies and have failed miserably. Whereas this, everything landed to me. Like, there were so many times people were laughing out loud and just loud and long laughs. So that really says something about the comedy in this movie. The other is the family heart in this movie. This is central theme of, you know, this orphan trying to feel like he has a family with an adopted family. And there's a lot of heart in there at points. And there's a lot of moments that really kind of grab you. And I think everybody did an amazing job in here. And I'll be honest, I think every actor in here did a very, very good job. Zachary Levi as Captain Marvel just killed it. Just absolutely killed it. You have Zachary Levi as the big Captain Marvel and Asher Angel as the younger Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. And they just nailed it. Like, honestly, they just knocked this one out of the park. Both very good actors. Zachary does have this likability that just comes through on screen. Jack Dylan Grazer, who I've only seen in It so far, did another very strong performance. This kid is going to be a really, really good actor, I think. I think he's really headed in a good direction. And he's working with some really good directors. So I expect big things from him. Mark Strong, I really loved him. I'm going to hate to say the movie name in Green Lantern as Sinestro. Sinestro was the strongest part of Green Lantern, in my opinion. And that was because of Mark Strong. And so he kind of brings the same style to this, though. I mean, unfortunately, it's still your stereotypical villain, trying to get power for unspecific reasons. And so it's very stereotypical in that way. But Mark Strong he brings something to the table. He really does, in every movie he does. And I think everybody in this movie, you know, large role or small, did at least fairly good. And I was really interested to see Cooper Andrews. If you don't know, he plays Jerry in The Walking Dead. And I was kind of interested because I've never seen him in anything except for as Jerry. And so I wanted to see, and he really does bring some fun to this. He has some really good one-liners, and he brings a bit of heart to this too, because he's the father of the adopted family in here. He plays Victor Vasquez, who, you know, is the household lead. And, you know, so there are moments when he really has to bring a certain amount of heart to it. And I really liked it. I gotta say, I really liked him in this role. So the acting, really good. The effects, they were good. They were not the greatest. They were definitely not the worst. You know, there were a couple of scenes where I was a little bit taken out, but overall I think everything looked pretty damn good, honestly. Lightning looked legitimate. The flying around, they did pretty good with. There were a couple of times, and that's where I was talking about it kind of took me out. There was a couple of moments when they were flying that it just kind of didn't look quite right. But other than that, it did look really good. There was some creature effects they had to do for, well, things that I'm not going to talk about until the spoiler review. But the creature effects I thought were pretty cool. I really did like them. So there were a couple of twists in here that I liked. And there were a couple of things I wanted to see that I didn't, and it has nothing to do with the movie itself. But we'll get into that again in spoiler talk. So overall, a really fun time though. It's got some good action, it's got some heart, it's got a lot of comedy to it. All the performances were really good. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I just had a lot of fun with this. And honestly, it's probably the most fun you're going to have in a DC movie, I think. Probably the funnest DCEU movie that they've had to date. Aquaman had some fun moments to it. This really brought it home though. This really brought it home. I think the other big comparison that I was going to mention earlier was to the movie Big. Of course, everybody was talking about that before the movie ever came out. And it really does have that Big feel to it. It's a superhero version of Big. This kid in an adult body, how would he react? What would he do? You know, and really does have kind of the joy of Big too. Because Big was just a fun movie in a lot of ways. So, I don't know that I could have thought of anything that would have made this movie better, to be very honest. It does have, you know, your stereotypical comic book scenario, so it does not break the mold in any way. It is what it is, but it's self-aware, and I think that's one thing that really helps this movie, is that it is self-aware. It understands that it's a comic book movie. It doesn't take itself completely seriously, and that really helps it, I think, in a big way. So I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. Mainly because of the joy that I had watching this movie. It was so fun, beginning to end. It really was. It sold you on so many jokes. And me and my girlfriend, we went there and we were just laughing our butts off the entire time. And what more can you ask for? So 8.5 out of 10. That's where I'm going with it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're going to mention anything about the movie, save the spoilers for the spoiler review. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, share, help a brother out. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation out.